My name is Christy, and this is Angel Talk, where the archangels are real, relevant, and accessible to everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Let's talk. Hey everybody, happy new moon in Cancer. I hope that all of you are having a wonderful start to your week. This is Christy Michelle Riggs. Thank you so much for being back here with me at Angel Talk. And thank you all so much for letting me share what was on my heart with you yesterday. It just was very powerful for me. It came through just, all at once. Like a wave was washing over me. Metatron and Michael and Raphael were really, just right there with me to bring that through. And it was on my heart to share with you all. And I know that it's not going to resonate with everybody. I know that to some I probably sounded like a crazy person, but that's okay. I know that for the ones that was supposed to reach, that it will reach them and be a blessing to them. Now, I did have some people ask if that meant that I was not going to do the regular message and the regular reading. And at the time yesterday when I recorded the message that I did, I had not intended to do anything further with the new moon. But after thinking about it and kind of just seeking guidance on that, I do realize that we're all in different places and we all need a different message to help us get from here to there. And so I will do, that's what this is. I will be offering you the more traditional message that will help you to navigate these energies of the new moon, because they are complex and they are fairly intense, particularly as we are approaching the Lionsgate portal, and there's just so much going on. And my goal is, my desire is to do for you all what the angels have done for me, which is meet you exactly where you are, to give you the resources and the help and the guidance and the support and encouragement and love to get to where you desire to be. So I decided to go on, and I know it's a little bit late in the day, but these energies are going to be affecting us for a little while. So I decided to go on and share with you guys the message that I had already done, the reading that I had already done, and I had intended to share with you before the other came through on my heart to share with you yesterday. So we have the new moon in Cancer today, the 20th of July, 2020. And, I like to give you the numerology. I'm fascinated with numerology. It's so very powerful, so very accurate. It gives us a lot of guidance and insight as to the way things work and the deeper meaning behind things. So the numerology for today breaks down to a 13. So here we have this number 13 again. Remember, we've been talking about the 3 and the 13. It keeps showing up, keeps showing up, keeps showing up, and that is trying to tell us something. That is not on accident. The 13 is the number of the divine feminine. And that's very interesting because we have the moon in its home sign of Cancer for the second time, which is a little bit rare. I believe that the other time that the moon was in Cancer at the eclipse, or the solstice, the eclipse and solstice, it was in just the very, very, very beginning of Cancer, and now it's made its way around to the later degrees of Cancer. And so Source and the universe, the angels, they're this is on purpose. They're trying to get our attention and to draw our attention to this theme of the divine feminine energy. And if you remember, I've said before, even though, there is the law of gender, and we come into this earth plane in a gender specific body, we all have divine masculine and divine feminine within us. And it's just we embody a certain gender and express that, in a certain way. But we all have both of those within us, and it's the thing is to bring those in to balance, even though there may be one that we are here to express just a little bit more of than the other. It's it's kind of like that, or not kind of like it is the yin yang symbol. They both have one within the other, and then it all fits together, even though one is expressing a little more than the other, but it's a perfect balance and a perfect circle, and it is complete and whole. So that's the goal. Now, the reason that, so you might ask, well, if there's a balance and we have both, then why has there been so much focus here lately on this divine feminine energy? And that is because it had, for so many years, it has been so very out of balance. And then these false masculine and false feminine archetypes and energies have developed from that distortion and that imbalance. And so because there has been so much distortion with the masculine energy, and it has been a very patriarchal and hierarchical, I have a hard time with that word, hierarchical society and influence, to a very imbalanced, a very distorted, a very adulterated degree. We're now being asked to focus on that authentic, source-created divine feminine energy, bring this back into balance, which will bring the authentic masculine back into balance, and we will have a much more balanced, whole, smoothly functioning, just a much higher vibrating, a much higher consciousness experience moving forward. And that's what we're trying to create. And here's the thing. I sometimes forget to mention this. I sometimes forget to remind myself of this. Gaia is going up in consciousness. She has decided that she's moving up. And we can choose to move up with her. But she respects all of our decisions. We have free will choice. She understands that like the loving mother, she understands that we all have our own path and our own choices. And she's doing everything that she can to take us all with her and to get us all there. And my goodness, when you stop to think of everything that we are given, that we take for granted every day, like the ground under our feet and the air for us to breathe, just the perfect, ratio of the gases that our lungs need. And then when we exhale, it gives the gases that the trees and the plants need to then give us more of the oxygen that we need. And and that's just a very small example. And even with everything that we've done to the planet, every way that we've polluted her, every way that we've, basically raped and pillaged her, And that's a big thing for me to say. I come from a coal family in Eastern Kentucky, and I come from nobody, very few, I won't say nobody, very few people think of it that way, and that's why we're evolving and why we're awakening, and that's why we're learning better so that we can do better. So that's what we're being asked to focus on. That's what the theme is with this new moon in Cancer. So you've got the moon in its home sign. Cancer is a very feeling sign. I have a lot of Cancer in my chart, which helps to balance out that I'm smack dab in the middle of Leo. I had somebody say to me, a lady that I've just gotten to be friends with recently, when she was talking to me about a particular gentleman friend in her life, and who is also a Leo. And this was before she knew when my birthday was. And she said, she was telling me about it, and then she said, well, I mean, you know how Leos can be. And I said, yeah, I do. She kind of looked at me funny, and I said, my birthday's August the 10th. And she said, oh my God, I didn't mean I did. I said, it's okay. I said, we get kind of a bad name. And I said, I understand that. I get it. She said, I would have never in a million years guessed that you were a Leo. And I said, well, I'm a reformed Leo. And she thought that was so funny. No, I shouldn't have said, I probably shouldn't have said reformed. I'm an integrated Leo. I try to be more so every day. But we all have every sign in our chart somewhere. And that's the thing, is that we're not stuck in a cookie cutter box that says, well, you have, well, this is when your birthday is, and so you have to always exhibit these particular qualities. That's not the case at all. You have an entire chart that you have to. It's just like with anything else, we miss the bigger picture. It's like with the human body, like when you go in and you try to address a certain issue, like if you're trying to address an issue with the lungs, then you only look at the lungs like as a singular area that is separate from the rest of the body. That's not really going to work, because, well, how are the kidneys playing into that? Our kidneys release different things that affect the function of our lungs. How is our heart affecting that? How is our do you get what I'm saying? We have to start looking at things as an interdependent system. You can't affect one thing without affecting the other. And everything has an effect on everything. And so we have to stop, pigeonholing ourselves and being so limited in the way that we think about things. So at any rate, we are being asked to look at some of those qualities with these different signs, because they do have different qualities, just like our heart has different qualities than our lungs have different qualities than our kidneys have different qualities than our digestive system, but they all work together. Okay. And there is an incredible amount going on with the planetary bodies right now. And I'm going to put a link in the description box to a video that I want you guys to listen to or watch. Because I'm just going to touch on a few of the major things that are going on that I feel led to speak just a little bit on. But a lady named Pam Gregory, I've mentioned her to you all before. She has done a video about the new moon, I believe she's done one No, it's about the new moon, but she goes into detail about not just the new moon. It's everything that's going on, and it's only I think it's about a 30 or 40 minute video, but she is so good at what she does. She is a professional astrologer. She makes it very educational. It's very easy to understand, and she describes how these things, she looks at it very much as a system, as a whole. I really like that about her. And she's very knowledgeable. I mean, she knows her stuff. And so I'm going to put a link in the description box below. I want you to check that out if you would. And then if you go to her website, I think you can still get a free birth chart that will help you to understand how all of the signs and all of the planetary bodies are working together in, for your particular situation and for your particular life. I think that's neat, and it's very helpful too. So a couple of things that we have going on with the planetary bodies right now that are also affecting this new moon in Cancer and have to do with, and it's important to point out. We have this group of planets that's in Capricorn, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. And they were also there in January, I believe. So, yes, it was January. So, we're going to have what typically happens when we have like a group that are moving together like that. And then they come back to a particular place. So we're in Capricorn in January. They've come back and they're there again now. Themes will be revisited. So we kind of got like a preview in January, and now we're getting, I guess, what you would call like a reminder or just another highlight of. So think back to your life, whatever was going on in January, and you can bet that you'll be able to draw some correlation to what is either going on or, maybe getting ready to present itself again for you to take another look at during this time. And again, I want to say these planetary bodies are not doing anything to us. They don't have anything against us. They're not trying to bring harm to us. They're just doing their thing. And it's all divinely orchestrated to assist us. We have all things working together for our good. And so they're doing their thing. There happen to be these energies that are associated with these particular planets and different formations that they take and things that they do that are going to have an effect on us, and we get to choose how we respond to that. We can get in a flow of it. We can choose to tap into, because everything has a shadow side and a lighter side. Everything, including us. And so there are shadow qualities of these planets, and there are the very high consciousness qualities of these planets. I love the way that Pam Gregory put it in this video that I've linked for you guys. She says that each archetype is like a multifaceted diamond, and we get to choose what facet to focus on. I thought that was great, and so very true. So we've got this group of planets in Capricorn, and we've got Jupiter in Capricorn and Jupiter expands whatever it touches. Jupiter's a great big planet. And so it's going to expand whatever it comes into contact with. We've got Pluto there as well in Capricorn. Pluto intensifies whatever it comes into contact with. And then we've got Saturn. And a lot of people, if you get into the astrology and you really start to learn a little bit about these different archetypes and attributes, a lot of people are like, oh, Saturn, oh God, it's kind of like, oh. I very much associate. It's really funny because a lot of people, if they've not worked with Metatron, Archangel Metatron very much, they kind of have that same feeling about his unique energy. And I always associate Metatron and Saturn with one another. I'm not sure why that is, but I think just because of the kind of the energies of both of them, and are very similar. And if you're not ready or not familiar with working with those energies, they can be a little intense. So now we have Saturn is the planet of like order and karma, and I like to think of it as the planet of like making things right. The planet of whatever you have put into something, whatever energy you've put out into the world, Saturn will see to it that that is returned to you accordingly. So if you've been, this is nothing to be afraid of. None of this is anything to be afraid of, and karma is not anything to be afraid of. I was reading some things about family karma just the other night, I think night before last, and it was talking about how karma is just like a path. It's just your life journey, your lessons. It's nothing to be afraid of. It just simply is what it is. It's an energy like anything else. Now, a lot of us have come into this incarnation to be the ones to clear our family karma, and that has a lot to do with this new moon in Cancer. Cancer has the energy that we think of as the mother energy. It's very feeling. It's very nurturing. It's very warm. And then with the moon being in the sign of Cancer, the moon that's the moon's home sign. That's just even more so. And then with this being a 13, divine feminine number with numerology, we've got that now even more greatly, intensified. So we are really being drawn to this divine feminine nurturing energy, and part of that, a big part of that, has to do with healing the mother wound, healing the distortion with the false divine feminine. And a lot of us that I would venture to say all of us that came here to, that consider ourselves starseeds or light workers, that know that we came here on a with a job to do, to be the ones to clear the karma in our families, to say it stops with us. Enough is enough. We don't want the old way anymore. We don't want this hurt. We don't want this to continue to be passed down from line to line to line. It stops with us. And it's interesting because what I have found is that many of us that are like my age, and that like the indigos and the crystals, and if you don't know what I mean by that, you can search and read more about that. My husband is definitely an indigo, and then it, just as much as he exudes those indigo qualities, I'm very much a what they call a crystal child. And so what has been brought to my attention is that we are those of us that are kind of around that age group. I used to think that we were the ones to come in and do it completely different, and that's not necessarily been the case. We've kind of been this bridge. We've made our share of mistakes too. But the difference is we are also taking responsibility for those mistakes, and we are that bridge between that old family karma that has, was never resolved and kept getting passed down and down and down. And so we've taken that on, and with our life experiences and our traumas and our hurts and unresolved pain and things like that, a great many of us have made our share of mistakes with our own children, and there has been some wounding there that we've had to take responsibility for, and that we are taking responsibility for. But the difference is we are acknowledging that, and we are digging in to heal ourselves so that healing can be brought about. And it's really our children that are the ones that are saying no more. But that's being allowed, number one, because they have come in with a much higher consciousness that has not been socialized out quite as nearly as much as it was with most of the people my age and older. I know I have 3 children and a stepdaughter. My youngest daughter in particular, her age group, they're just different. I can see it. I've had this conversation with many people. They just behave differently. There's, for the most part, there's not a lot of like bullying. There's not a lot of the issues that I experienced, and a great many of others have experienced in different age groups. I can remember like when she was on the swim team when she was little in elementary school, and it didn't matter. Oh my gosh, it was cute. It was just this really a lesson. I mean, just really an example that they were setting, and had no idea that they were setting it. But it didn't matter what color ribbon that they would get. It would be they would be so excited, and they would. Chloe would call it agradulating. I have to go agradulate her. They would cheer for each other, and it didn't matter if they got a blue ribbon or all the way down to purple ribbon. Oh, you got purple. We didn't have purple yet. It was, they were just so sweet to each other. And it's been important to them. I know, especially like with my daughter, it's being nice is important to her. Doing the right thing is important to her. Just because it is, and so I can certainly see how they have come in with just such a higher consciousness where they're looking at us as adults and going, y'all are crazy. This is not for us. This is not the way to do things. That we want better than this. We are over it. We do not want that. We don't want all this hurt and pain and bickering and drama and divorce and hurt feelings and not talking to each other and all this stuff. It gives them anxiety. I've sat and watched my daughter just like ball up in anxiety of being around any degree of it. And so, we're being drawn really to look at these familial wounds and these familial constructs. And I can really see how those of us that are around my age group, because we have that desire to heal, and because we can see how us healing our wounds with our parents or our parental figures, particularly the mother figure, how that cascades down and allows it to be no more. It allows for the clearing of it. And so we have these themes surrounded with home, family, And what do we consider our home? Like, is home a building, a place, a house? Is home a feeling? Is home a person? And are there many different, layers of that? And I got to really thinking about that, and I know we used to have a sign that hung, right when you first walked into the townhome that we lived in at the time, and it said, "Home is wherever I'm with you." And that was so true, and still is so true. Because that feeling of home, that was when I met my husband, that was really the first time I had ever felt, and the first time that I hugged him, that was the first time that I had ever felt truly at home, like I belonged somewhere, and like that felt right and was safe. But through, this separation that we're experiencing right now, and being apart from, having to be apart from each other, I'm having to really rely on cultivating a sense of home within myself, relying on my home, like further out in the cosmos, that I know I have a home with the angels and with Source, and also it draws themes to just like in the 3D, like what is your home? A lot of people are moving or desiring to move. A lot of people are starting to desire to live in conscious communities, and there's also an element and a theme of, because these planets are in Capricorn, of new ways to look at resourcefulness. Because so many businesses have had to close or be restricted and limited, and we find that we are, having to look at ways to be more resourceful. We're not wasting as much. We're not buying as much. There goes the train again. I don't know if y'all can hear that. I don't know if you remember me telling you in one of my earlier messages, I'm fascinated with this train that goes by my building. I want to ride this train so bad, I can't stand it. I'm sure you can hear that. I get so excited whenever it goes by. I'm like a little kid when I hear this train. I got to see it yesterday. I was outside when it went by. I was so happy. I'm sorry about that. I'm actually not sorry it's going by. I'm sorry that y'all are having to wait for it to go by. Okay. So at any rate, we're having to look at different ways to be resourceful, to use what we have, to not be wasteful. One of the things that I'm really seeing a lot of is trade and bartering. A lot of people are not buying brand new things anymore because we just don't. Like I said, with the financial impact of the COVID-19, people don't have the resources, and people have been very afraid because we don't know how long this thing is gonna drag on. We're now in a major second wave of it that does not go without impact. And however you want to look at it, to me, it's not a political thing. It's just, it is what it is. It is having an impact, whether no matter how we feel about why it's having that impact. I have chosen, and I'll just share this with you because I've told you all many, many, many times, we get to choose how we respond to these things. And we, like the theme of resourcefulness that's being brought about because of Capricorn. Capricorns are often very hardworking, resourceful people. The shadow side to Capricorn is They can be overly serious, very critical, sometimes unforgiving and suspicious. And so we're definitely seeing a lot of that play out, in on a greater stage. But that's also affecting, in order for something to play out on a greater stage, it has to be affecting people on a personal level. You see what I'm saying? I've chosen to be very, not that I'm grateful that there is a pandemic that is making people very, very sick and killing people. But I am very appreciative that our governor in the state of Kentucky has opened up, or had chose in the beginning to open up an employment for self-employed people. And that had never been before. It took a little bit of time to navigate the unemployment system because of the overwhelm they were experiencing, but I've been very grateful that resource has been available to me, where otherwise it would not have been, and I'm not sure that that's being made available to everybody in every state. So I've chosen to look at that with a heart of gratitude, and have put in an enormous amount of time, effort, and work in response to that feeling of gratitude, to use this time to offer you guys more, to learn more, so that I can offer you more in the future. To be able to connect with you more, I'm using that resource in that way. So it's all about how we choose to, where we choose to put our, what perspective we choose to have, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now, this expansion of Jupiter can mean that we can expand how we see our resources. We can look to new ways, look to new resources. We can see all of the ways that the planet, that God provides for us, all of the things, all of the resources that we have, and we can look to new creative, out-of-the-box thinking for ways of moving forward, and Jupiter can really expand that. And I know that has been very, very much the case for me because of the way that I've chosen to look at it this whole time. I am experiencing an expansion of awareness, an expansion of knowledge, an expansion of creative ideas, an expansion of ways to connect with you all and do what I feel that I came here to do. So I encourage you guys to really think about where you're placing your focus with this new moon and with any other. Where is your intent? Because intent is everything. It is everything. We just don't even realize how much our intent governs what happens. And so it's where we give our energy to, and where we choose to have our frame of mind and our consciousness as to how we're going to experience these energies or anything else. So this new moon is happening at 28 degrees of Cancer, and then that breaks down to a 1 in numerology, which is the number of new beginnings. It's a time and the new moon is a time of new beginning. It's a time we get to set a new intention. We get to set a new goal. We get to set a new plan. Plant a new seed. I like to think of it like that. So a new way of looking at home, a new way of looking at the divine feminine energy in its authenticity, and healing those distortions and wounds within ourselves and our experiences with the mother figure. Now we also we've got the sun and moon the sun and moon are always together at a new moon, but we've got the sun and moon in Cancer, and they are squaring Eris in Aries. Now, if you remember me telling you, Eris is the sister of Mars, Mars is in his home sign of Aries. Mars is the god of war, and Eris is his sister that is known as the female awakener. She's known as the goddess of chaos and discord, but she is the female awakener also. So again, everything has a shadow and a light side, right? So what is happening here? It was drawn to my attention. Mars energizes anything it touches, right? And so with Eris, his sister, being in Aries, his home sign, what was given to me and brought to my attention is how the divine, we can think of it as the divine feminine and the divine masculine, are working together here behind the scenes. Even when it may not look like it, behind the scenes, what's really going on is that the divine feminine and the divine masculine are working together, triggering one another, pushing one another, energizing one another to deconstruct the old, collapse these timelines of these adulterated energies and these false energies. And then they're using the energy of this moon in Cancer to build the new. And we're still having the eclipse energy affect us, even though we're out of eclipse season. Those energies affect us for about 6 months. So we still are going to be seeing this falling away of the old. It's not going to happen immediately. But we're being given this opportunity to kind of take a quantum leap, if you will, into the new. So with this Mars energy, we can certainly, delve into those lower energies of anger, aggression, violence, impulsivity, being, very trigger reactive, or thinking of like a hairline trigger in our reactions, knee-jerk reactions, I guess is what I was trying to say. Or we can tap in to those qualities of higher consciousness that is kind of like when I think of like a hero energy of courage, passion, resilience, this sense of being on a mission, and a very strong sense of knowing who we are, knowing what we're here to do, and that hero's journey that we're on. And we have to, we're really being called right now, and this is just an aside that is beyond the new moon, but just in general, we're being called right now to really think about, where can we be our own hero? Where can we be our own hero? And then how does that, when we become our own hero and we take responsibility for ourselves, and what I mean by that is the path of mastery, the path of controlling our emotions, controlling our, being a master of our own thoughts, being an observer of our thoughts rather than taking all of that on and being very reactive. And not giving our power away to anything outside of ourselves. Meaning, we're not going to sit and say, well, because he or she did this, then that gives me the right to do this. We're not going to say, well, if the government would only do this, then I wouldn't be in such and such and such and such a shape. We're going to be resourceful. We're going to choose to be in a loving, nurturing energy, even when those around us are not necessarily exuding that same energy. It's very much what I talked to you about yesterday that was on my heart. That unconditional love that says, I'm responsible for how I behave and how I react and what I'm going to put out into the world, no matter what the people around me are doing. And I promise you, like I said yesterday, I promise you, if you will continue to do that, it will have an effect, and you will get that in return, because it's your energy. What you put out into the world will come back to you magnified. That's just the way that the laws of this universe work. And so when you give that love and that nurturing and that forgiveness and understanding and compassion, and you hold that space for those that are not in that place yet, the light catches. And then your energy is will be returned to you. And we have a choice in how we do that, and where we put our focus, and what we choose our responses to be. And we have to get out of this victim mentality, because even if we're in a situation where, even if we're in, God forbid, some of the worst situations where we feel like we simply that there is no choice. You always have a choice as to how you're going to feel, because nobody can get inside of you and make you feel a certain way, and people can affect you very greatly. But to what degree of that, and how you choose to respond to how you are affected by that, is very much, where you can stand in your own mastery and your own power, and that's not always easy, and I do understand that. I'm not saying that it is always easy for me, but that's where we're trying to set our intent, where we're trying to get to, and what we're trying to create in the new. So I would encourage you with this new moon to set a new intention for your own emotional frequency. Cancer is about sensitivity, emotion, feeling, being very open-hearted. Your heart field is expanded. Set an intention to open your heart more, to start to take the walls down from around your heart. I'm telling you, it's the best thing I ever did. And I had plenty of walls up. The Great Wall of China, it paled in comparison to the walls that I had around my heart. And it can be scary to start to take those down, but I promise you that it's worth it. So we're just going to wrap this up very quickly. I don't really have much else for you. I have just a couple of messages from Metatron, the angels. I've pulled 3 cards from the Archangel Metatron Self-Mastery Oracle, but really everything that these cards are just affirming everything that we've already talked about. It's no surprise was not a surprise to me in any way, shape, or form that the first card that I pulled was the number 39 card. So again, if we break that down in numerology, we're down to the number 3, and it's the heart healing card. It says green, heart healing. And so what we have here is Archangel Raphael coming in. He works on the emerald green ray, and he's coming in to say it's time for some healing, and we're here to help. If you will ask the angels, especially Raphael, oh my gosh, Raphael has, I get choked up when I think about all the ways that he has brought healing into my life, things that I had just kind of started to accept that there would never be healing from. It doesn't always happen in the ways that we expect. We've got to be in a place. What I've learned is that we've got to be in a place where we're open to healing, but we don't set limitations on how that healing occurs. Because I've heard it said, God's ways are not our ways, His thoughts are not our thoughts. Well, that's in some ways not true, and in some ways it is true, just because our higher selves, the God within, as we try to merge the two together, there's part of that is still in a place of higher consciousness with higher perspective, that has a broader vision, that can see more potential outcomes than we can, and can see how all of these things can work together, where we, from a 3D experience, can't always see those things. And so that's why we're trying to raise our consciousness, and we're trying to elevate and trying to awaken, so that we can merge the two together, so that we can have that vision, that 2020 vision that we've talked about. So we have to be open to allow healing to come in. Sometimes we don't think about it, but one of the things about healing is sometimes when you've carried pain for so long, in one breath you'll say, "God, I wish I could heal from this. I wish I didn't feel this way anymore." But then if that's all you've ever known, your ego will jump in and be like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Now wait a minute here. What are we going to do with this?" Because in that space, if there's healing and you don't have all that anxiety and fear and doubt and worry and victimhood and judgment and all that, if that's all gone, then sometimes that space can feel uncomfortable, and then we close ourselves off to healing. And then what that requires of us, we have to play an active part in co-creating that healing. So this healing card has come through to just remind us that there's an opportunity here for healing, and that we get to decide how quickly it comes about or not, by how we're going to choose to respond. If we're going to take the walls down to our heart, if we're going to choose to love without condition and not put restriction and restraint and oppress others with how we deem that things ought to be in our viewpoints and all that kind of thing, it's very much in our hands. And that's an empowering place to be. It really is an empowering place to be. It just affirms that energy of being our own hero. That's kind of what we mean by that. The second card that has come through is the 13. The universe is great, I swear. It's the air card. It says fly free. There are two things that came through about this card. One thing is about stagnation. We've as a society, as a way of life, we've gotten very stagnant in the old energy. And if we think about air and the quality of air, the element of air, like whenever I love to do this. Whenever your house has kind of gotten stagnant, like like over the winter time where we have to stay kind of closed up and we're trying to stay warm, we keep all of our windows closed. And then there's that first spring day, and the first thing that I can't wait to do is open all the windows and let some fresh air in, and that air will come in and can just freshen everything up. And then you come back in and it feels lifted. It feels fresh. It feels good. And we can use that metaphorically and very, very literally. I know that a lot of us are stuck not being able to move about very much right now because of limitation and restriction from the pandemic. But we can open our windows. We can let the quality of air or the energy of air come in, and we can focus on that and visualize that coming in to clear out the old stagnation, to freshen up, the energy of our homes, our workplaces, if we're allowed to be in our workplaces right now. We can get out and go for a walk, even if it's just a short walk. I took a walk around the block yesterday, because they don't require me to wear a mask if it's just me by myself and I'm just going around the block and not going into any businesses. But even if I had to wear a mask, I'm not sure that I'd wear a mask to walk around the block, because I would, might start to feel smothered. But I could still, go out. I don't have a deck, but I have like a rooftop. Well, I have like a little terrace, and I also have like a little rooftop area where I can go out on the roof out from my bedroom. there are ways that we can get out in some fresh air. And the angels are also calling us to work on our breathing. I know so many times Archangel Michael has come, that's one of the chapters of the book, talks about breathing. And when I get stressed, or when I get anxious, or when I get really tight and restricted and I'm trying to, like have this feeling of control, I don't breathe. I hold my breath. And we all do that. We don't breathe as deeply whenever we are in a state of frustration or anger or stress or anxiety. And so the angels want to remind us that it is called a sacred breath for a reason. And we can really focus on using our breath to clear our own energy field, to freshen up our own energy field. And we have to think about, when we take a breath in and we reach like the top of our breath, and there's that resistance, we feel that resistance to where at some point we can't inhale anymore, and we have to and exhale and release it. And then at the bottom of our exhale, we have to inhale again and be renewed with a new breath. And so the angels are guiding us to use that imagery of that and use how our lungs work in a twofold way, both to actually take in air and clear our energy field with that air, with our breath, and to calm ourselves down, to keep ourselves, centered. It really, really helps keep me out of a place of anxiety. If I can breathe through something, that's, a lot of the point of yoga. They say it's transcending the limits of the physical body, and you do that through your breath, and it works, I'm telling you. But I mean, even if if yoga doesn't interest you, or that's not, something that you want to do, even if you're just sitting on your couch or sitting in a chair or wherever in the world you are, you can have a minute to focus on your breath and really get down deep into where it's not just your chest that's expanding, but it's like feels down in your gut. You can actually put your hand like just below where your rib cage ends and feel, if you're breathing real deep, you can feel your belly expand. And so that's one part of it. And the other part is to visualize, when we get to this place of resistance with a lot of this hurt and the frustration and the pain that we're feeling right now, and it feels so constricting, we can take a cue from the way that our lungs work. And when we feel that resistance, to actively release that. And if we need help, we have the resource of the angels and the Ascended Masters and one another here on earth, and we can ask the angels for help with that, to help us to release those difficult emotions through our breath and an active visualization of releasing it. And then with that next in-breath, we can ask the angels to renew us with a transmuted energy, because we can't just get rid of something, we got to replace it. That's how we transmute. It's not just about the releasing, you have to replace it also. So we can exhale the stuff that we don't, and visualize that just leaving our body, leaving our energy field. And then on that next in-breath, think about inhaling a new clarity, a new peace, a new whatever good feeling it is that a feeling of refreshment. And we do that enough, it does work. It really does. And the other part about the air is, Metatron told me a long time ago, and this has helped me so many times. It's helped me every time I've ever visualized it and used it. They talk about our fight or flight response. And then I think, 10 years or so ago, I don't know when it was, that they decided that the body responds in one of three ways, not just one of two ways. And it was either fight, flight, or freeze. And Metatron came in a few years ago to tell me that there's actually a fourth option, and that is to fly or to float. And what he means by that is when we are experiencing things in our reality or emotions within ourselves, or, things that are, that we don't want to participate in or that are causing us a lot of stress, that instead of fighting it, running from it, or getting stuck there, fight, flight, or freeze, we can choose to just lift our consciousness and go over it and fly right over it, float above it. And when we're in that place of higher perspective, and we're an observer of ourselves and an observer of our thoughts and an observer of our feelings, then we don't take it on into our energy body and have that density get stuck there and stuck in the cellular bodies. And that weighs us down and keeps us in those lower feeling vibrations. And then what that will do for us, if we're open to this healing of, we ask Archangel Raphael, Archangel Metatron, all the angels. Raphael is fantastic to work with. He's just got this energy of this sweet, it's just so sweet and warm, and you feel this sense of warm tingle all over, like you're just being given a big hug when you work with him. So if we allow that to come in, we actively seek that healing, and we think of this quality of air to freshen our energy field, to create something, a new feeling, and to release clear out the old stagnation. Then this last card is the Kundalini card, and it says untapped energy. And the Kundalini is that you can Google that and read more about it. It's the energy that lays dormant at the base of our spine, and a lot of C.G. Jung talks a lot about it, because he thought that the idea of the Kundalini is our way of describing. I'm trying to think exactly how I just read it the other night. How he put it. It's our way of describing our experiences with the unconscious, and things that we can't explain any other way. It's our connection to the cosmos. And, a lot of people will get real focused on the chakras when they're talking about Kundalini, and that is a part of it. But the Kundalini energy, when we sit up straight and we get this it's a very creative, divine feminine energy. And it lays dormant at the base of our spine. And what we want it to do is, as we awaken and as we tap into that unconditional love and that creation energy, creative energy, that will start to move up through the chakras, from the base of our spine up and out our crown chakra, connect to the cosmos, connect to source, connect to our soul family, our soul tribe, our ancestors, our higher self, the angelic realm. It'll connect to all of that, and then it will come back down through the crown chakra and down and create this infinity loop that keeps us connected and in touch and in tune with source, with our higher selves. And so if we will set the intention for healing, set the intention for love, set the intention for unconditional love, set the intention with this new moon for sensitivity, emotion, these divine feminine, balancing, bringing that divine feminine in and using that as a guide for this unconditional love that I was talking about yesterday. And it will help us to raise our perspective, to float above with the deconstruction that we see of the old way, and then raise this Kundalini energy, which will align us and connect, make us open to our connection with the cosmos. And you will start to have some really incredible experiences. You will start to have some experiences that, if you didn't know what they were, might seem to others like you're experiencing some kind of a psychosis or something, but you're not. You're experiencing some phenomenal things that are available to you, that we're meant to experience to connect with the greater part of the cosmos that we are that we are already connected to, we've closed ourselves off from it through those densities that keep us stuck in a lower plane. But we don't have to stay there. So let's all use this new moon to set an intention to nurture ourselves, take good care of ourselves. Your home for your soul while you're here on this earth adventure is the human body, and it's pretty spectacular. How are we taking care of that home? How are we taking care of the planet? How are we taking care of our physical homes? How are we relating? How are we seeing our idea of home? And can we expand it out all the way to the cosmos and know that we are part of such a bigger, grander, more beautiful thing than we can ever imagine, and that it is not small. It is so big, and we are a vital, integral part of it. How are we going to heal this mother wound? And there are many, many ways to do that. We can talk more about that in another message. But how are we going to heal our distortions with the divine feminine? The false divine feminine. How are we going to let the authentic divine feminine energy come in and soothe this and make it okay and heal it, help to heal it? How are we going to be more resourceful and less wasteful and less damaging to the planet? How are we going to be more resourceful with ourselves and less damaging to ourselves? How are we going to be the hero of our own life, meaning take responsibility for our responses and our choices and our actions and say, no more. It's time for healing. It's time for new. And so we're going to know how these universal laws work, and we're not going to participate in the energy of arguments and fights and protesting and rioting and all that. And it's not a political thing. It is just the way things are. When you give your energy to that and you are in such opposition and resistance to things, you are giving your energy to the same energy that you are not wanting anymore, and it's causing more of that, and it creates a feedback loop. So you have to choose a different energy. You have to choose to not give energy to that, and to choose actively to give energy to love, to understanding, to compassion, to know what's going on, know why it's going on, and respond to it with love. That's the only way it'll stop. So we have a choice. We have a choice. The angels are always there to help. They're always there to help. I want to thank you all again for being here. Thank you again for letting me say what was on my heart yesterday. I know it was a big message. I know it was, and it was a lot. It was intense. It was intense for me. And I'm sure that came through in the recording. But it's important. It's important. I hope you all have enjoyed the guidance that we're being given today. I will be back with you next week at the end of the week, unless something's on my heart before then. But definitely be back with you again next weekend for our weekly angel awareness. Please check out the website, ChristyMichelleRiggs.com or angel-b.com. Find me on social media, Facebook and Instagram for both of those. At Christy Michelle Riggs on Instagram and Facebook, AngelB1111 on Facebook, and Christy.AngelB on Instagram for the Angel B site. You can schedule a personal reading with me, variety of healing sessions, intuitive coaching sessions. There's a lot that is offered. You can check all that out on the website. Please connect with me. Send me messages. Send me questions. Send me comments. Send me your experiences with the angels. If you ask me a question and I don't know the answer to it, I will do my best to point you in the right direction, and we'll find out together. Okay? I love each and every one of you. I hope you have a very, very wonderful rest of your day, and happy new moon. And we will talk again very soon.
I am not an island. I want to feel the connection.